Okay, so I wanted to do this a little differently. Hi, phone. I want to talk to everybody about loot types because it's been something I've wanted to talk about for a little while, and I touched on it a little bit before, but I never got into a lot of detail, and I've got a quest I got to go turn in, so I might as well do that while I do this. I'm going to get a light so that when I do the camera thing, it's better, and one of these days I'll get a new camera because this one is old and crappy, but it's something because I figured seeing me fly around in the background is a little boring. So anyway, loot types. Um, which loot type is best? There are a few options for loot types, and of course I can't see them unless I start. So here's a cool trick. This is obvious, but in case you don't know, you can go to pre-made groups, you can go to custom, you can start a group, you can call it don't join, and then you can list the group. And there you go. And now I can set this to a raid because it lets you do that now. It used to be you had to like get someone else in the group to do that. And now I can choose loot types. And it used to have some other options in here. But right now it's got personal group loot, free for all, and guild master loot. And so master loot's actually a guild option at this point. And that's weird. But there used to be like round robin for loot, which doesn't make any sense to me at all because who cares? You can't even you get stuff you can't even use. It didn't even make sense to me, so that's strange. But the options now, group loot is basically where it just brings up the window and you roll for stuff. Just the normal loot type that it does that it used to do for everything. And then you've got free for all, which is just madness. I don't think the only time I ever have used free for all was before there was personal loot and you were out questing with people and you're like, I don't want any of this low level crap for the dungeon I'm running you through. You take it. And I think it's really just here. You take this crap. That's what free for all means. This is not bad. Survey different. Okay, yeah, 6 pieces of the crown jewels of Suramar. This is a 5,000 gold. Do the archaeology thing this week. It's worth 5,000 gold, and it'll get your archaeology up, since everybody really wants to do that. And so group loot is good, and it works pretty well, but in a raid environment, it was awful, because all someone had to do is click those dice, and suddenly they are rolling on stuff they shouldn't. And so now it's really down to 2 things, it's master looter or it's personal loot. Which one is better and why? So the pros of master looting are the fact that you, in your guild runs, you can control where the loot goes 100% of the time, and there's a problem with personal loot that limits the control that you have, because you might say, well, my goodness, Never, you can give loot to other people that you got when you were personal looting stuff. I don't know why I'm collecting ancient mana. I'm like done with everything that I could do with it. Anyway, you can give people stuff, but you can't if it's an item level upgrade. And item level, it matters a lot. It's like the most important thing that there is when it comes to gear right now, but it's only in most cases, because there's this stuff like, what is that, arcane crystal, whatever that trinket is that has all the secondary stats on it, and it's like wildly superior to every other trinket in the game for most specs. And so because of stuff like that, it's not always best to just give people the item level upgrades they have, or maybe they've got like, maybe they've got like a 965 piece and this 970 piece drops, and you've got somebody in your raid who's running around with like a 915. It's going to do your raid so much better to give that piece to the guy who really needs it, rather than the one that's just going to be a tiny 5 item level upgrade for him. And so you have stuff like that really, hi dudes, holy crap, that really causes a problem with personal loot. But there's a story I want to tell you that sort of answers this question as to which loot type is best. You see, I used to run, I've run several raiding guilds of various levels of hardcoreness, and there's one time that my sister-in-law got a dog. They got a new dog, and this is just this happens this way for so many people. So you're gonna go down to the animal shelter and get a new dog because you don't want to buy one from a breeder or something. People get really uptight about that. I don't really care about dogs, but this is how people talk about it. So they want to go down to the animal shelter and they want to pick out a dog. And so what are you gonna do? You're gonna pick the energetic one that comes up and says hello to you, and oh my goodness, he loves us so much already, and he's so cute, and of course he's gonna have a really cute Disney look to him, and he's gonna have a black and white pattern because that's what the cute ones have, is they've got some kind of pattern. And so you get the dog home, and then what are you going to name him? It's, you don't name him normal dog stuff. I don't know how Bowser became a normal dog name, but I mean, now, since the 80s, Bowser's a cool name because it's like, that's what we started calling King Koopa when they started unifying the naming convention for Mario. She wasn't Princess Peach when I was a kid. She was Princess Toadstool. And maybe your name is Peach Toadstool. I don't know. But the point is, you had normal dog names like Bowser and Fido and stuff. And there's a reason we always talk about that. But no, I mean, you got a black and white dog. What are you going to call it? You're going to name it the most annoying thing that you could ever hear over and over again. You're going to name the dog Domino. And I'll tell you what, I mean, it might sound like a cool word the first couple of times you say it, but if you hear that 1,000 times in a day, that word is poison to your ears. You hate that word. Because what happens? There's a new dog, right? Everyone's interested. And so what do all the kids do? They come, Domino, Domino, Domino. Hey, Domino. Good boy, Domino. Come here, Domino. Come here, Domino. Domino, 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 Domino. And that's what happens. And see, the reason I'm telling you this story, I told you that story to tell you this one, is because when I was GMing those raiding guilds, I was part of the process of assigning loot. Me and the raid leader, and sometimes one of the class leaders that we had, or one of the role leaders. We didn't really have class leaders because we were never in big guilds, but we had like, here's the healing leader, and here's the DPS leader, which was also me, and the tank leader was the raid leader, so it was really just the healing leader, I guess. Or we'd have like guild lieutenants that came in. And so what would happen is when we were getting ready to do loot council, that is what my chat would do. Is it would explode. It's like, hey, Never, guess what? Hey, I really need this piece of gear. Can you give it to me? Oh, my goodness. And I only got these upgrades last time, and my EP score is this much. And that's what would happen every time. And it doesn't matter how much you tell these people not to do that, because this is the problem with raiding guilds is, back in the day especially, if you wanted to raid, you had to have 25 people. And it's hard to find 25 people that work on your weird schedule and are willing to raid and don't suck, or even like suck a small enough amount that you can do something with them. And so you can't just be a jerk to people. You've got to pretend that you can lay down the law, but you really can't, because you need them more than they need you in a lot of cases. And so you've got to listen to them do this stuff. And that's what sucks about Master Looter is it ends up being just this popularity contest, and people complain at you all the time. And so the reason that I'm going to tell you that personal loot is the best loot is for that reason, is because it's so annoying to do master loot. But that isn't even the most important reason. The other reason that personal loot is the most important is because personal loot eliminates the biggest problem with this, is because after everyone has told you why they think they deserve all this loot over and over again, every time a boss dies, or every time some sort of thing drops off of trash that's a little bit special. Okay, dudes. Every time you do that, somebody sees, the loot gets handed out, and then the second half of it starts. Everyone's like, well, I really deserve that because of such and such. And it's like, hey, such and such doesn't come to raids as often as me, and so I should really get this, blah, 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 blah. And everyone's complaining of that they didn't get the loot they want. And if it wasn't enough that they start complaining to me, then they start complaining at each other. And the drama happens. Drama! And it happens. And it gives me flashbacks. I'm not going to pretend that I have anything even close to post-traumatic stress disorder, because that's a real thing, and there's some people that have that. Usually people that almost got blown up in war or something. And I suppose there's a few other situations that might be comparable to that people in a normal social society would encounter. But I think for the most part, that term is extremely misused in our culture today. And so you have people that all they want to do is complain about getting the loot they want, and then they complain when they didn't get it. And this is what happens when you are running a small-time raiding guild. And so personal loot solves all of that because there's no drama. The closest thing to drama you have is, oh, hey, look, here's a piece of gear that's not actually better for me. And so I can give it to someone. What do I care who it goes to? I don't care. And so if somebody if I'm in looking for raid because I don't feel like actually pugging something good, if I'm in there and I get a piece that's not an upgrade, I mean, I guess I could vendor it if I wasn't an enchanter, but la-di-da, that's a negligible amount of gold. I mean, I throw more gold than that away on really stupid stuff, so that's not a problem. And even if I shard it, what is that, 200 gold? I made a guide on how I make gold. 200 gold is not something I really care about. I transmog a new idea that I get for a transmog. It costs more than 200 gold. So a piece of gear like that's not even going to phase me. So I just don't care if I keep the piece of gear or where it goes to. The only time I guess I do is if it's a transmog piece I don't have yet. And that's pretty rare. Oh, hey, look, this guy's bugged. Oh, maybe we can kill him now. Holy crap, that neck enchant hits really hard. So personal loot solves the loot drama like 99% of the way, and that's why it's the best loot type. And so the other side of this coin is that might make people think, well, goodness, you know, Never doesn't care that they're getting rid of Master Looter, and they're not really getting rid of it, they're just making it so that it's like really annoying and difficult to use. And I have a problem with that. Not a big one, but I have enough of a problem with it that I wanted to talk about it, because it comes down to one of the fundamental points in game design. So let's go over the main features. Oh, hey, look, this guy's really big. Okay. I'm just gonna spam Solar Wrath while I talk. Let's go over the main things that make an MMO work. Okay, number one is there has to be a compelling sense of progression, and I'm gonna make another video about progression because it's an important topic. But there has to be a compelling sense of progression. You have to have a reason to want to continue to accomplish or acquire or achieve things in the game. So that's one thing that you need to have. The other thing that you need to have is you need to have a deep and personal sense of character customization. And so I need to feel like my character is in some way that matters, in some way that is tangible and meaningful, that my character is different from every other, well, troll, druid out there now, or even any other player who's doing the same things that I'm doing. And then I need to have a sense that the things that I do, you know, the progression that I make, I need to have a sense that it actually matters in some way for as much as the game matters. I need to have choice, and it has to matter. I need to have real autonomy. And then finally, I need to have a good interaction with the world around me. So you put those things together, and those kind of make a good MMO. You know, there's the social aspect of it too, but that's really kind of interwoven into all those other things. It's not really something that stands on its own, in my opinion, because the customization part, that matters. It's socially because it's I mean, what's special about it? It's how I differentiate myself from every other character out there. And then the sense of progression. Well, what does progression matter? In a single player game, progression is really just going through the content, but progression in a multiplayer game, it's progression relative to other players. And so then your connection with the world is the other players, and it's what they interact with. It's like, who's the main character of World of Warcraft? It's not me. It's not my character. It's not Thrall. It's not the Alliance. It's the world. You know, the game is called World of Warcraft. It's like Lord of the Rings. Okay, who's the main character of Lord of the Rings? Some people might say Frodo. Even J.R.R. Tolkien said that Frodo's not the character you're even supposed to identify with. The character you're supposed to relate and identify with is Sam, because he's the one who's closest to your situation. You're looking at Frodo through Sam's eyes, and even later on in the story, the narrative switches to being Sam's central point of view. And so Sam isn't even the main character. it tells you right there, who is the Lord of the Rings. Well, Christopher Lee says that it's Sauron, it's the main villain. And I guess that's one way to look at it, but I kind of disagree. The main character of Lord of the Rings is the ring. Because that's what it's called. It's about that ring, the ring to rule them all. The one ring, the Lord of the Rings. And so what is World of Warcraft about? It's about the world. It's about this, Azeroth. Yeah, okay. It's about this right here, Azeroth. That's the main character. These are supporting characters. This is kind of the same. This is the character that has multiple personality disorder. I never realized how much of a light show I can make while I do this. Well, that's kind of cool. I wonder. You can kind of see that flashing. That's a little stroby. Anyway, so the world is the main character in World of Warcraft, and so the way that you relate to it, all the other players are here, and we're relating to stuff. And so my whole point with this incredible tangent, but everybody on this channel says they like tangents, and so I'm not sorry about it at all, is that more choice is always better in an MMO because it improves all of those things. More choice makes my character unique. It's like, why have we been begging Blizzard for more customization options for so long? Is because that's what gives us more choice. Why do we care about having a more in-depth and detailed world? It's like having the zone scaling. The zone scaling while leveling up is immensely popular. Not just because it means you can play with your friends longer, because it's really it sort of does that, but you still have to make sure you're kind of in the same place on the questing. Like my wife and I, when we're leveling up characters, which is once every 2 years, but what we did with what we're doing for Battle for Azeroth, and what we did with Legion is we said, okay, here's 4 zones that we can level in. This zone we'll do together. We did Azuna together, and then we did other zones. It's like, okay, I'll do Stormheim and High Mountain on my own time, and you do them on your own time. And then when we're playing together, we'll do Azuna, and we're going to do the same thing for Battle for Azeroth. But you still have to sort of coordinate that, and so the thing that made it nice is that you got to choose which zones you did first. It gave you more choice. And so removing something like Master Loot is taking away a choice. And it's taking it away needlessly, because I can understand personal loot being the default or even the only loot system for stuff that you make through the group finder, which is, I love this thing, but having the... Some of you watching this have figured out what is bothering me right now. And some of you may have figured it out before right now. You see, I made a raid group, right? And I'm doing this archaeology thing, and I've been going around, and that's why I haven't found any pieces of it, because you can't when you're in a raid group. So that's kind of cute. Standing right on top of an... Oh, yeah. Oh, hey, I didn't realize there was a buff for that. Oh, that's cute. Anyway... So I can understand it being the default or even the only loot type when you're assembling a group through the random group finder. That makes sense to me, because there's really no good reason that there should be an excuse for Master Looter on that, because one person shouldn't have that kind of power, especially since you have to wait so long in queue and nobody took the time to organize the group. But when you're in a guild setting, if you manually form the group, I think that you should have all the control that you want. And maybe this is Blizzard's kind of weird way of keeping people from ninja looting stuff. There was a really fantastic Asmongold video, a really old one, about how to ninja loot stuff. It might be my favorite video he's ever made, because it tells you exactly how to do it and how not to get caught by Blizzard. It's wonderful information because it makes you aware so you can protect yourself from that sort of thing. But if they're trying to combat that, I guess this helps with that a little bit, but still not even all that much. And so my whole point with this is that, yes, the best loot type is, in my opinion, I think it objectively... oh, I've got to use the thing. It's objectively personal loot, because even if it's not the best in every situation, overall, it's the best in the most situations. But... that doesn't mean that we shouldn't still have the option to do Master Loot when we want to. And that's what drives me crazy, is when choices are taken away. I did see that there is some talk of Blizzard maybe relaxing some of the requirements for transmogging artifact weapons across different specs or things like that, which is a bit of a concern because, I mean, yeah, for the druid forms, it's all about that cat and it's all about that, monkey bear and stuff. And that's okay if I can go and pick those forms. I would like to be able to pick the cat and the bear forms in any spec. I'd like to be able to choose what my cat form looks like when I'm in Resto. I don't see a reason that that's bad. I mean, right now during Legion, I get it. There's the whole spec identity with your class hall and all that stuff. But having the ability to choose which one I get later on, I don't see the problem with it, especially if I worked really hard to get those Mage Tower appearances, which I did. I worked really hard in inflating my gear so that they became easy. But what about the daggers or, heaven forbid, the fist weapons that I hate? I hate fist weapons. But what if I wanted to use them? What if I wanted to get out the only fist weapons I like, which are those Wolverine claws? What if I wanted to get those out? I should be able to do that, but if they're going to make it so that the only weapons that a druid uses ever are staves or should I say staves? Staves? So it's just staffs and two-handed maces, maybe, if they ever drop anywhere, because they don't really exist very much in the game, or pole arms, if the hunters don't steal them all. So if those are my only choices, when would I ever get to see the dagger appearances that I've never used, but somebody likes them? So that's a concern, and if they can do that, then they should be able to relax the transmog rules for quite a few other things. I don't see a good reason to have things so locked down anymore. You should probably be able to transmog any weapon your class can equip at any time, no matter what your weapon is. If I had my way, I'd open up the transmog system a good deal more than that and let people transmog almost anything to anything. I mean, you shouldn't be able to transmog your pants into a dagger, but I don't think it would be the end of the world if I could transmog leather to look like some cloth pieces, especially if they're not tier sets for a specific class. So I would love to hear what other people think about this. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone's going to be like, well, yeah, we should be able to transmog anything we want. And yeah, we should be able to have Master Looter. Does anyone disagree on those? I would love to hear why, if anyone does disagree. I'm not going to do one of those change my mind things because I think that's stupid. I can make up my own mind, and so can you. But if anyone has a differing point of view on any of that, that would be interesting to hear, because I would love to hear the other side of the argument if there is one. Or if you can think of a reason why it's necessary to maintain those restrictions. Because I don't think there's a justifiable reason to keep transmog as locked down as it is. And I think that we'll gradually see, look at all that. I think we'll gradually see Blizzard opening that up a little bit more. I just think they should do it faster than they are. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today, is master looting and personal loot. So to answer the question, in case you missed it, personal loot is the best loot type. It's objectively the best loot type because it solves the most problems, but that doesn't mean it's perfect, and we should still have the other options there, because what harm does it do? Okay, thanks, bye.